The parliamentary vetting and subsequent rejection of Dr. Lawrence Muganga ignited a highly charged, polarized debate on X, formerly Twitter. At the heart of the confrontation are conflicting narratives regarding dual citizenship compliance and systemic tribal discrimination, while parliamentary representatives maintain that the rejection was a straightforward legal compliance issue regarding undisclosed passports. Dr. Muganga argues that the process was weaponized as an act of ethnic bias against the Banyarwanda community. This chronological breakdown details how the digital exchange unfolded across the 6 distinct posts provided and will leave you wondering, how did we get here? The first post, I call it the opener, from Daudi Kabanda. Let's look at the context and the content. The parliamentary representative Daudi Kabanda initiates the public discussion by formally addressing the narrative surrounding the rejection of Dr. Lawrence Muganga by the Appointments Committee. Kabanda dismisses claims that Muganga was disqualified based on his Banyarwanda heritage, calling the rumor false and dangerous. To back this up, he notes that other prominent Banyarwanda leaders, such as Honorable Aisha Sekendi and Diana Mutasingwe, successfully passed vetting as Ugandan citizens. According to Kabanda, the actual grounds of rejection were investigative findings proving Muganga holds 3 separate passports, Ugandan, Canadian, and Rwandan, despite explicitly denying the existence of the Rwandan passport to the committee, something already available in the public domain, and we posted 1 week earlier. Here comes post 2, the counter-accusation, which is a quote tweet from Dr. Lawrence Muganga. Now the content, Dr. Muganga delivers a fairly multi-part response to challenge Kabanda's narrative and set the record straight. He unequivocally denies holding the Rwandan passport, categorizing the claim as a deliberate falsehood manufactured entirely by Honorable Thomas Tayebwa. Muganga alleges that Tayebwa told him directly on record, in every vetting session, we have to fail someone, and this time it had to be you. Dr. Muganga, he brands the rejection as a calculated personal act of hatred and discrimination aimed at him purely because he is a Banyarwanda, promising to release a proving audio recording. He fiercely defends the constitutional standing of the Banyarwanda, a taxpayers and equal Uganda citizens who will not be silenced or treated as second class, something nobody is even talking about. Now, when we get to the third post, the vetting rule challenge, it's a reply from Dr. Daudi Kabanda. Replying directly to Muganga's statement, Kabanda leverages his experience to dismantle the corruption allegations. Citing his 5-year tenure on the Appointments Committee, Kabanda states that the process strictly operates on rules, completely debunking the notion that the committee arbitrarily sabotages a mandatory quota of nominees. He shifts the accountability back to Muganga, posing a direct procedural question. Did the Vice Chancellor present formal documentation proving the legal renunciation of his Canadian and Rwandan citizenship? Kabanda notes that other nominees with dual citizenship, such as those holding American papers, routinely present such proof to secure approval without facing victimization. Now, if we click away to the fourth post, the third party commenting on the vetting, that's Ronald Amanyire. Amanyire enters the fray by quote tweeting Kabanda to offer an external critique of Muganga's handling of the situation. Amanyire argues that Muganga ultimately sabotaged his own appointment through defensive body language and evasive answers during media engagements. He points out critical contradictions, noting that merely stating a readiness to renounce Canadian citizenship is legally insufficient. The official renunciation should have been completed prior to facing the committee. Amanyire also references an expired Rwandan passport circulating online, questioning if it was used to seek political asylum in Canada, sharing his unmixed regional heritage. That's Mutoro, Mufumbira, Rwandan. Amanyire emphasizes that the failure was strictly a matter of failing to meet legal criteria, independent of tribal identity. The fifth post is direct questioning on travel and identity records, which was authored by Huma Gocha. Now, moving deeper into the thread, digital citizen Huma Gocha posted a reply focused entirely on the documentary trail left by the nominee. Gocha demands clarity on two specific fronts to test the consistency of Muganga's background story. First, he questions which passport Muganga physically held when he initially migrated to Canada. Second, he highlights an alleged national identification and registration authority, that's NIRA, form circulating online where Muganga reportedly filled in his tribe as Mufumbira, heavily contrasting with past public interviews where Muganga stated that his mother was the one who was a Mufumbira. The sixth one, which is the final rebuttal, authored by Daudi Kabanda. Kabanda quickly closes the chronological sequence by replying directly to Gocha, capitalizing on the momentum of the unfolding skepticism. Exclaiming exactly, Kabanda amplifies Gocha's focus on the nominee's immigration history. He leaves the audience with an ongoing, unresolved query intended to challenge Muganga's legal framework when applying for his Canadian citizenship. Did Muganga present himself to immigration authorities using a Ugandan passport or a Rwandan passport? Question mark. Now, my own take, this chronological timeline showcases how a standardized parliamentary evaluation quickly evolved into a massive, multi-layered debate over national identity, legal compliance, and ethnic inclusion in Uganda, while Dr. Lawrence Muganga sought to frame his rejection as an instance of targeted tribal discrimination and political gatekeeping. State actors and independent commentators successfully shifted public focus towards strict constitutional adherence, citizenship documentation, and personal consistency. The digital exchange highlights a deep sensitivity surrounding the intersection of dual citizenship and public service vetting, proving that in the digital age, administrative transparency and personal record keeping are heavily cross-examined by the court of public opinion. And our next video will tackle if it is too late for Dr. Lawrence. Stay subscribed.